Okay. Okay. Welcome to my YouTube channel.
Thank you.
You are watching my YouTube channel today with us, USA famous homeopath. So, can you tell me about your name
My name is Alayna Woods. I'm
and
from
where you from?
Central Alabama, USA.
Are you homeopath?
I am not an official homeopath. I have studied homeopathy, herbs, essential oils, basically all forms, maybe not all forms, but many forms of natural healing for about 22 years now. My oldest son is 23, and when he was an infant, I started using homeopathy and really didn't even know, that I was getting into homeopathy when I did. I was just trying to choose more natural approaches to use with him. And that's what I reached for more and more was homeopathic remedies. And, you know, um, I didn't really understand them at first. I didn't know about homeopathy for probably probably 2 or 3 years is when when he started teething and I really started reaching for him more often. I kind of had an exit from modern medicine when he was about a year old. He was having a lot of issues with vaccinations and things like that. And I kind of pulled out of the modern mainstream medicine here in the US and started looking for alternatives for him and really researching, what the difference was. What was the difference in homeopathy versus allopathic medicine? And that started it all. It led me right down the road that really I feel like I needed to learn all that information. And so probably about 2004, 2005, when he was about 3 or 4 years old, I really got interested in homeopathy, started doing my own study. And then I had my next baby in 2007, and he was born at home. He was, a wonderful baby, but he never slept. Like from day one, he had sleep issues and, just your common baby complaints and everything. And when he was born, I knew that I wanted to study homeopathy seriously. And so I searched out um, the New York School of Homeopathy. They used to have their book list posted online, and I basically read every single one of their books. I wanted to go do the clinicals, but by that time, I now had two toddlers um, and an older child. My oldest son was probably about 7 or 8 then. And so I never did my clinicals. I did read all the books that were, I read Kent and I read the Organon and I read a lot of different homeopathy, principles. The principles, I have them down. And then just reading the Materia Medica kind of for fun, just to learn the different remedies and different uses, and then helping my friends and my family. And that's kind of where I ended up in my thought process was, I love having this information for myself, for my family, for my friends. And I really didn't want to I didn't want to try to compete with allopathic medicine. And it's almost like in the US, that's what you are, your competition, if you're a homeopath. So I kind of felt it best in my best interest and in the best interest of my family if I just learned it for myself, and to help others. So that's where I am with my
That's
homeopathic
good.
studies.
Wonderful. So, can you tell me what is the homeopathy?
What is what?
What is the homeopathy?
What is homeopathy?
Yes.
Okay, so homeopathy is same suffering using the substance that causes um, these set of symptoms in a healthy person to heal a sick person. When you have that same remedy potentized or highly diluted and basically energized, I think of it as an energetic potentization of that, that whatever, a mushroom or a, plant or an animal or a mineral, whatever you're potentizing, you're basically taking that energy and using it medicinally to cure a set of symptoms that would that plant or mineral or bug, whatever, whatever the original substance is, would cause in a healthy person. I don't know if that muddies the water, but that's my understanding and how I try to think of it. Like if if you were to encounter in the wild, a what is the Spanish fly, the cantharus that cantharus is made from. If you were to get bitten by a Spanish fly, you would end up with a huge blister on your skin. So if you take that Spanish fly and you homeopathically dilute it and potentize it so that you're only dealing with the energy of it, and you give that energy to a person who has a blister on their skin or a burn, if it's, that Spanish fly causes a severe burning, blistering on the skin. If you give that potentized remedy to someone with burning blisters or any kind of burning um, symptoms, it takes it away. Like I think of
Good.
it as like a positive and a negative, and then poof, it's just a complete eradication of symptoms when it's the right remedy.
So, do you know about historical context?
I do know a little bit of history, a little bit. I don't know what you're going to
Yes.
ask me.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Please share. Share with us.
Okay, so Hahnemann was like the father of homeopathy, and he came up with these ideas and tried them. That was the thing about homeopathy. It's not just an idea. He actually proved these remedies himself, and other homeopaths after him have taken it upon themselves to say, okay, we can take this information that Hahnemann has has gathered for us, and we do know that this works because it's been proven time and time again with many different, different remedies on different people. And homeopaths now are trying out new things. Like I've seen most recently, well, I mean, this is not terribly recently, but what I'm thinking of is like the flu, like the flu nosode, and I mean just all the nosodes are pretty new. Um, and I've even seen like the MMR vaccine homeopathically potentized, and like anything that's potentially causing stress on the body, that is in today's time that wasn't necessarily in Hahnemann's time, wasn't previously proven. They're proving those things now. So they're proving these vaccines that have caused damage, and they're proving, I'm trying to think, like peanuts. They even have like for peanut allergy, you can take the homeopathically potentized version of peanut and potentially desensitize somebody that suffers with that. um I don't know how much historical information that really is, but I don't know.
Okay. So, what are the physical, mental, and emotional aspects of homeopathy?
I am most familiar with the physical, just because I kind of know where my fine line is for treating people, and I know that if there's emotional or spiritual, issues going on, that's above and beyond my plane of of understanding. And I know that they need to speak to an actual homeopath who can guide people in those issues. But I use it a lot for acute issues, and helping people with illnesses, or just anything that just crops up that's not a long-standing constitutional type of issue. Um, I do know that when you are using different potencies, some work better in the physical for physical complaints, and some potencies work better for, the higher potencies would be better for emotional and mental, um, or if there's emotional and mental anguish, I guess, along with those physical symptoms, you would reach for a higher potency, in my understanding.
So, what is the acute homeopathy?
Okay, so by acute, I mean something that's not a long-standing chronic condition. So you might have a cold come up, and all of those, cold symptoms would be acute, just because they're here for a week or two. It's not something that's been long-lasting or something that's, like diabetes that has been festering in the background for many years. An acute situation is something that comes and goes pretty quickly, and homeopathy can speed that healing process along.
And what is the constitutional homeopathy?
So constitutional homeopathy would be more like, from my understanding, we're all born with a certain constitutional type, and we also, we come into contact with different environments that make us who we are, and that constitutional homeopathy would work basically on our core person, getting back to the core person that, above and beyond, um, problems that our parents might have had, or generational issues that may be passed down, genetically, or uh, through a traumatic birth or a traumatic experience in our life. Working through all those things. I don't do constitutional homeopathy myself. So I don't, that's one of those things that I would be like, you need to speak to a homeopath if somebody came to me with constitutional issues. I know enough to know this is a constitutional issue and you need to see somebody, above and beyond what I can help you with. Um, but I do think that constitutional care is fantastic, for everybody. We're all broken, here on the earth. We're not, nobody's perfect, and we all have issues, and we all have these bodies that are constantly, um, working towards failure. That's the best way I know how to say it.
Yeah.
We're all headed downhill, and the older you get, the faster it seems to come at you. Um, so I do think constitutional care is fantastic. It can even be beneficial for babies and infants and children. I have read a lot about, the constitutional types of kids, and things like that, just because it was something I was interested in with my own children. But again, it's not something I try to treat or, do myself. That's not something I would work on myself. I would say, if we're going to deal with this, let's go to a homeopath and let them, work through the constitutional treatment, just because there's so many different layers. And when you're doing that constitutional treatment, it's not something that you're just going to take one thing one time and poof, it be done. You're literally peeling back layers of this person's, I don't even know how to say it, um, this person, your mental health and your physical wellness and all of that is intertwined in your constitutional care, and it needs to be looked at on a much more broad spectrum than what I'm used to, taking a case for the common cold or something like that.
What is the relationship between symptoms and homeopathy?
So you want to look at your symptoms, to be able to choose a correct remedy when you're looking. When you're first introduced to all these homeopathic remedies, it can kind of be overwhelming because there's so many to choose from. Like, how do you know? My best suggestion is to get a really good, both a materia medica and a repertory of symptoms. And you just kind of cross reference. You want to look up in your repertory, what symptoms you're dealing with, and they will cross reference different remedies that you can go back and read those remedies, and then basically just pick the one that, that most sounds like the totality of what you're dealing with in that moment. That's how I've always done it. I actually started out with a really nice little kit that had a materia medica, a teeny tiny materia medica, and a teeny tiny repertory, all together. So it was really easy to learn that cross referencing. And when I got bigger books, I knew how to use them. And so now I can look, at more particulars, and it just makes it easier to pick the right remedy when you know the particulars. And it's kind of like, once you start seeing those symptoms and you see the remedies that treat those symptoms, your brain just automatically knows, okay, she's dealing with this, this, and this. We need this remedy. You learn them like your children. They all have their own little personalities.
Okay, so can you tell me, can small doses be effective? Because so many people asking homeopath that just suggest small sweet pills. So can you tell me, small doses be effective?
So why are smaller doses effective with homeopathy? So from my understanding, the dilution and succussion of the homeopathic remedy creates the potentization, which is the inner you're just taking the energy of whatever that plant or mineral or whatever your first object is. You're taking the energy of that object. Every single thing in nature has its own energy, its own, I don't know what that's called, wavelength. Basically, it's a frequency. And what you're doing with homeopathy is you're taking that frequency and you're potentizing it. But at the same time, when you're diluting it in water and succussing it, you're not only potentizing the energy, grabbing the energy and holding it in the water, you're also detoxifying whatever it is. If you're using a toxic substance, you're diluting, succussing over and over and over again, so that whatever that toxic substance was is becoming less and less toxic, to the point that it's not toxic anymore, because there's no more of the remedy left in the actual pilule that you're taking in your mouth. You're just taking energy. You're not taking toxicity in any way, shape, or form. That's why homeopathy is so safe and so effective, because it's non-toxic and that's why everybody can use it. You can use it from infants to, I say cradle to grave is who can use homeopathy. You can use it with everybody. It doesn't matter if you're nursing. It doesn't matter if, with herbs and essential oils, you have to be really careful about using it with babies, or really careful about using it with people who are nursing a baby. But homeopathy, that's what it's for, is for, using it with those people who might otherwise not do well with herbs and essential oils. Like, you can use homeopathy because it's not toxic. So it's one of my first things to go to. If I have anybody under 6, I want to find what homeopathic remedy that child needs. If I have anybody over 75 or 80, that it's like your vitality is too low when you're little and too low when you're old, and you don't respond as well to herbs and essential oils, but you always respond well to homeopathy, no matter your age. I've seen miracles on both ends of the spectrum.
Tell me, how can the correct homeopathic remedy be found?
Like I was saying before, you would want to have a repertory of symptoms, which is just a book. It's called a repertory. There's many different repertories written by different homeopaths, and it's going to list out all the symptoms. So, say you have a snake bite, and I'm just thinking of something random, and I mean, you need to know how to treat a snake bite before you get bit by a snake. This is not something you necessarily need to be looking up in the repertory, but just for examples, you would look up snake bite in the repertory, and it's going to list out 5, 10, 15 remedies for you to go read about. And then you're going to go back to your materia medica, which lists out all the remedies and their symptoms that they cover, and find out which one best suits your condition. So, I mean, common cold, um, say you have a sore throat and your ears are hurting and your glands are swollen, you're going to go look up those symptoms in the repertory of symptoms, and it's going to list out what remedies you need to go read about. And then you open up your materia medica and you read through those remedies, and you say, oh, I think I need phytolacca. After you've read 2 or 3, you can see, oh, I have this and this and this, and 3 of these symptoms are fitting this, and oh my goodness, I'm acting just like that. Like, that's how I use emotions in helping people. Is I can usually spot the physical ailments, and then I ask them about their emotions to see which ones match that remedy the closest, and that's how I can pick it out for them. Is if you're being a grumpy bear, then you're probably going to need brownia, versus if you're being sweet and cuddly, and just want your mama, you probably are a little pulsatilla baby. Like they all have their little personalities that you learn after reading through those materia medica and the repertory of symptoms.
What is the homeopathy's approach?
The homeopathic approach is it's about allowing the body to heal itself. It's about helping the body. The body is self-healing. I don't think people know that. Like, I think people think that you have to have medication to heal your body, and that's just not true. Your body is self-healing, and homeopathy is a catalyst that basically prods your own body's energy towards vitality. Your body seeks vitality. Your body wants to be in a healthy state. And especially when you're sick, it's trying to get back to normal, trying to get back to normal. The symptoms that crop up when you're, sick with the flu or have a cold, those symptoms that crop up give us a picture of a remedy that we can take to speed healing back towards vitality.
Explain the homeopath's role as a detective.
The homeopath is a detective, and I have the utmost respect for um, for anybody who finished school and can take a case. um, it really is time consuming, and that was one of my big drawbacks, was I just didn't have the time to do it at the time. But a homeopath, they take their time to find out every facet of who you are, every facet of your health, your health history, even your genetics and like your family health history, your mental health and wellness. Like, they want to know it all, because it all matters when picking, especially in the constitutional care, it matters in picking the right constitutional remedy for you. And then not only does a homeopath pick one remedy, after that remedy acts, they want to know what has changed, and they want to know the next step for you, and they help you pick those next remedies. Even in an acute case, you could have a change of remedy. I'm not one to stray from a remedy that's working, but oftentimes what you'll see, especially like in the cold or the flu that just lasts, it just keeps going on. You'll need a change of remedy. So not only would you need to speak to a homeopath at the beginning of your illness and say, hey, this is what's going on now. There are different phases of illness, and a homeopath can help you work through each one of those phases and bring you out on the other side, back to vitality. And I think that's where a lot of people who try to do homeopathy, on their own or without much reading or knowledge, that's where they get caught up, is they don't realize that, oh, I need to move to this next step. Like, there's a remedy that follows this one that they just don't know about, but a homeopath would know.
So tell me, homeopathy is a proved science, because so many people asking this.
Well, I don't think that science in America wants to prove homeopathy because science is pretty much backed by the pharmaceutical companies. Now, I'm not sure about other countries. Now, I know, like in the UK, the royal family, for instance, has a homeopath that they have used for centuries. So, I think in different places around the world, you're going to have people who scientifically back homeopathy and those who don't. I think, science has to be, first of all, the question has to be asked, how does this work? And they don't want to know how this works, because if it works, if we were to prove that homeopathy works scientifically, then what is all this medicine that they're selling? They can't patent nature, and that's essentially what homeopathy is natural means of healing. Anybody, literally, you could go out and create your own. I have created my own homeopathic remedies before in my kitchen. You know what I mean? Like, it can be done by the layman, and it's not something that pharmaceuticals are interested in because they can't patent it. and name their own price, like they can cancer drugs or, diabetic supplies and things like that. It's not something they want to do the science on. So, you just have to try it yourself.
Is it true that homeopathy medicines are only placebo sugar pills?
Is it true that they're only sugar pills?
Yes.
Well, they are sugar pills, but they have blown on them basically a liquid remedy that dries on there. The remedy is created by the dilution and succussion process, and that is the potentized, energized, basically a remedy water that's sprayed on these lactose pellets. And it dries, and so now those little pellets have the energy of whatever homeopathic remedy was sprayed upon them. So yes, they are sugar pellets, but they are potentized, energized sugar pellets.
Explain, does the homeopath give the same white pills for all illness for every patient? Because
Okay, so
when we are attend patient and we are giving a same remedy, meaning a same white pills to everyone,
yeah, I can
and
see how,
people asking, you are giving same medicines to everyone. Can you
right?
explain about this?
I can see how it would be confusing, especially if, if you're using the little jars of just a clear jar of white pillules, and this guy gets a jar of white pills, and this guy gets a jar of white pills. I can see how that would be confusing. In the US, we have remedies that they're all in a blue tube, and you can't even see the remedies, and they all have a name on them, so you can differentiate more easily, because they're labeled differently. I can see how someone would be confused or think that, oh, he's getting the same thing as she's getting, like everybody gets the same thing, but they're all actually, they look the same, but they all have a different remedy sprayed on them. So, you may be getting a white pillule that is hypericum, or you may be getting a white one that's Staphylococcus aureus or arnica. They basically just use that white pillule as their base for whatever they're going to spray on it, and that spray is different. It's a different remedy for each person.
Okay, good. So tell me, does homeopathic take a long time to act?
A long time to act? No.
Yes.
I've seen. Okay, let me tell you my favorite story. He was then 5 years old. This was my kind of hyperactive child. I mean, he was five, so he was just bouncing off the walls anyway. But he was laid on the sofa. I mean, just like plastered. Like it looked like he was plastered on the sofa. He was so sick with the flu. I told my husband that I was going to go out and get the flu remedy for him, and I'd be right back. And so I came back home and I gave him that flu remedy, and that was probably about 8 o'clock at night. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, he's just so, this was probably the sickest he had ever been. He was super sick. And I remember checking his fever about 8 o'clock, and it was high. It was like 103.7 or something like that. And I'm thinking, gosh, this has got to come down. I was just uncomfortable, just a mom, and gave him the remedy. And he went to sleep. And sleep is a fantastic sign that you've hit the jackpot with homeopathy. If they go to sleep, that is fantastic. You let them sleep and they will wake up a new man. I checked his fever again after midnight and it was coming down, so I'm like, okay, something's working, something's working. The very first thing I heard the next morning were his feet running down the hallway. Like I could hear little bare feet running down the hallway, and I knew exactly who it was. And I was like, oh my goodness, thank goodness this child is healed. And it was literally from one dose of the correct remedy. Like that's all it takes a lot of times. I'm big about, people who are using homeopathy for the first time. I do want them to take it like a few times just to get it in their system. And I feel like people who have not used homeopathy, like their body, I don't know, maybe isn't accustomed to using energy healing. I'm not sure, but I always tell people to take it 3 times in the first hour, and then you can tell if it's working or not within that hour. And if not, we need to look for a different remedy. If it is working, then you can take it as often as you need to. But I have seen it also work immediately. I stubbed my toe one time and took hypericum, and immediately the pain was gone. It was wild.
Wow, wonderful. It's a beauty of homeopathy.
Yes.
So tell me, why homeopaths need a detailed history?
Say that last part. Why is homeopath?
Explain why homeopaths need a detailed history.
Why they need a detailed history?
Yes,
Um, they need a detailed history because you are a very everybody is so different, and there may be a detail in your history that helps to pick the right remedy for you. Um, a lot of the constitutional type remedies are um, they they work on this basis of miasms, and different people fall under the category of different miasms, and you would have different health histories, basically, that may help them look in a different miasm for a remedy for you.
good. So this is also a very important question because so many people asking. Tell me, do homeopathic medicines have steroids?
Do they have speed?
Steroids.
Steroids. Okay. No, there are no steroids. It's basically completely non-toxic. It's not like you would take a steroid and it would force your body into an anti-inflammatory state by changing all these different physical features in your body. That's not how homeopathy works. Homeopathy is more like a catalyst to get your body to do what it wants to do anyway. It can be anti-inflammatory. You can have anti-inflammation symptoms, like when you take arnica because you've been at football practice and your body is all stove up. That's what I give my football players in the afternoon when they come home from football practice. They're like, "Mom, please help," and I'm like, "You just need some arnica," and they never mention it again. Like, after they take that arnica, that's all they need, because that arnica acts as a catalyst to help that body get through. It's basically, when you're having a symptom, you are having a stress moment in your body. No matter what the symptom is, it's a stress that basically just needs to be smoothed out, and that homeopathic remedy helps smooth out that stress so your body is back to vitality, complete health.
Okay, good. So my last question is, tell me,
Okay.
there are any side effect of homeopathic medicines?
There's no side effects. I do think that it's very wise to, to have a homeopath or homeopathic friend who can advise you. Especially, I mean, I know a lot about homeopathy, and I still need help when my babies are sick or when I'm sick, and nobody else knows this information in my house. Like, I still need a homeopath, to help guide me. I think it's very wise I think it's wise to learn it for yourself, learn it for your family, but also have a homeopathic friend, homeopath in your back pocket. It is the very best thing you'll ever do for your health.
Okay. So in the last, can you share with us your successful case story?
That was my flu story. I mean, that was probably the one that was just like, wow. But I mean, I've had a lot of different, healings for friends. I'm trying to think. My parents really, really love homeopathy now. Like, it's all they use. It's what they go for. I mean, they have their own kit. They live about an hour and a half away from me now, and they have their own kit. And I mean, anything that crops up, mom will call me and ask what they need to take. And they love taking their water remedies. They'll put their little pilules in water and take a sip here and there. She said, "That's your daddy's favorite way to take it." So I love helping people, be prepared. I love sharing those kits. I think it's fantastic to be prepared and have on hand what you need. And really, I mean, just a handful of remedies can help so much. just to have them on hand and, have somebody that knows how to use them and that's willing to teach you how to use them. I think it's a fantastic investment,
Yes. Okay, dear. Thank you very much for your time.
Sure.
And
Thank you so much for asking me. I appreciate it.
yes, thank you very much. And you give us a time and you share with us your knowledge about homeopathy. And again, thank you very much. And God bless you.
God bless you. I appreciate it.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.